Hi, and welcome back to Trev's Kitchen, cooking on a narrowboat. I guess I should call it a galley, really. Today, I'm going to bring you a bit of a traditional British classic. It's a steak and ale pudding, but cooked in a slightly different way. I'm going to actually cook it in a casserole dish, and then after, when it's almost finished cooking, I'm going to add a suet top to it, a suet crust. Now, I've never made this before, so it could go disastrously wrong, but I'll bring you the result whatever happens. So let's get on with it, shall we? First of all, let's get everything prepped up. I have here 600 grams of diced beef, some plain flour, about 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, pepper, the same, a teaspoon of mixed dried herbs. If you're in America, use some Italian seasoning, it's basically the same thing, and half a teaspoonful of garlic granules. You could use fresh garlic, I've run out on the boat. So into a plastic bag, I'm going to add approximately 1 heaped tablespoonful of plain flour, all of my herbs and spices, let it shake up so it's all mixed up nicely. And to that, I'm going to add the beef. I'm going to tie the top up, leaving lots of air in there if I possibly can. And then we're going to give it a good shake up. Trying to get all that flour, herbs and spices all mixed onto the beef. That looks good to me. Yep, nicely coated. So I have a frying pan, skillet, whatever you want to call it. To that, I'm going to add some vegetable oil. Actually, this is sunflower oil, not a lot. A couple of tablespoons. And we're going to put it on the stove. Boat's in a bit of a mess today. I've been moving things around, trying to get things sorted out. This bread bin should not be here, of course. Let's move that out of the way. So, let's turn that on. Just going to warm that through. You don't need to use olive oil for this. I'm just going to let that get hot. Not quite there yet. Right, I think we're just about there now. The oil's got hot, so we're going to put in our beef. I'm just going to tip it all in actually. It's all the flour's gone onto the beef, so there's no lumps in it. I'm just going to stir that around with a wooden spoon. I'll get some colour to my beef. And the flour will become thick enough for the sauce later. The beef's starting to sear off there. To this, I'm going to make a little bit of space over here. Now I would normally use shallots, but unfortunately when I was in the store yesterday they didn't have any shallots. They did have these small red onions, so I have 6 small red onions I'm going to put in whole. I'm going to let them colour off a little bit as well with the beef. Now also in here I have some mushrooms I've diced up. Bowlful, probably about a cupful if you're using cup measurements. A bit more than that, probably 2 cups. Which I'm going to put in. It was actually 6 medium to large mushrooms diced up. As you all probably know by now, I don't particularly measure very much when I'm cooking like this. It's what looks about the right quantity for me goes in. And it depends on how much you like ingredients, of course. Now I have this on high because I wanted to sear in all those juices into the meat. So it's going to be cooking for quite a long time in the oven. And we don't want the meat to dry out, we want it to tenderise. You can see there's a lot of it sticking to the bottom of the pan. That's okay. We're going to rescue that later. Well, that's all just about there now. I'm just going to lower the heat, but I'm going to keep it on for the time being. I'm going to bring in the casserole dish. Now, the casserole dish came with the boats. Unfortunately, the lid seems to be for a different casserole dish. But it's going to stop most of the steam coming out and allow it to drip back into the bowl. So I'm going to use it. And I'll take all that and put into my casserole. I'm not worried about getting everything out of there at the moment. Put that back on the heat. 1 can of beer. I'm using a good old English style beer. It's a mild. And I'm going to turn the heat back up. And I'm going to start deglazing the pan. Now if you're making this at home and you've got children and you're worried about giving your children alcohol, don't worry about it, because when you deglaze it like this, the heat, you're getting rid of the alcohol. The alcohol will cook off. You're just going to be left with the flavour of the beer. And we're starting to, as this cooks, the pan's starting to deglaze. All those scrummy bits burnt on the bottom starting to release. We don't want to lose any of that flavour. Could use red wine for this. I'm trying to keep it more one of my sort of classic British type dishes. Red wine would be more French, of course. Using beer, it's more English. And we're trying to keep this sort of modern sort of take on some good old British classics. The pan's just about deglazed there, and that's more of that beer. Now I'm not worried about cooking the alcohol off, because obviously I can quite legally drink it. So that's deglazed. Let's come back to our casserole dish. I'm going to pour all those goodies into there. And turn that off. And I'm just going to push it around a bit more with some more beer. Just going to go in there. And there we have the pan. As we can see, it's pretty much deglazed. Now for the vegetables. I've already cut them up. Here's my vegetables. I have in here about 1 cup of carrots I've sliced up, 1 cup of swede, and for my American friends you would call that rutabaga. Use the French word for some reason and not the English word. There's about 1/4 cup of diced parsnip and about 1 cup of diced up potatoes. I'm not sure if all this is going to fit in, that's why I've already pre-mixed it into the... I pre-mixed it all into here, it's all mixed up in here. I'll just make sure it's really well mixed. If it doesn't all go in, it doesn't really matter. I was guessing. And I'm going to fill it up fairly high because it will cook down. I think I can get them, yeah, I think I can get all that in there just about. I'm going to mix that in with the beef and those onions. That looks pretty scrummy to me. Just want to push those onions in a bit because I don't want them on the top. I want them to cook in. Lots of flavour there. So there we have that. Add the rest of my beer. Or not. See what happens when the foam disappears. See how much I've got left. Yeah, we'll take it all. And that was 1/2 litre, 500 millilitres. Banks Mild. Use any beer you like. I just happen to have Banks Mild on the boat. I'm going to put that rather ill-fitting lid on. It will help keep some of the steam in, if nothing else. So here we have it, all ready to go into the oven. Now I've preheated the oven to gas mark 5. I'll put down underneath what those are in Fahrenheit and Celsius for you later. So let's put it in the oven. Putting it on basically the middle shelf of the oven here. There we go, in she goes. Now I have that, as I say, at gas mark 5. I'm going to leave it on gas mark 5 for probably about ½ an hour. Once it starts boiling away, then I'm going to reduce the heat down to quite low and leave it for a couple of hours to simmer away. Well guys, what can I say? I think I jinxed the recording at the start when I said I would bring the results no matter what happens. Well, the result is, as I thought I'd filmed the rest, and the files are actually on the SD card, they're just unreadable. Yes, my GoPro failed me again. And the rest of it, I'm afraid, did not film. Well, it did, or it didn't. Say, there's files on the GoPro, but they're unreadable. So, anyway, I can tell you that it turned out absolutely delicious. I cooked it for about 2.5 hours. I made a suet crust, which I put over the top, and put it back in again in the oven for I think it's another 35 or 40 minutes. I then took it out and served it, and it had a lovely crispy crust to it, and it was absolutely delicious. But as I've told you in the past, I bring you things if it goes right or goes wrong. I'm not a pretense channel. I don't look out for dramas. I don't try and make things up as I go along. What you see is what you get with me. And unfortunately, we didn't get this time. But I can assure you it was absolutely delicious. And I may try and do it again at some point in time. At the moment, I'm recording very little using the GoPro because it's so unreliable. I have been in touch with GoPro, and they have told me that there could be an update, software update, that may fix it. they're yet to send me that update. So I'm afraid that's the end of this video. It was a delicious pie, by the way. I recommend making it every day of the week. Well, no, because I'd be as fat as a pig if I'm not already. But anyway, don't forget, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. Hopefully the next cooking video will be a success. Well, this one was a success, it just wasn't a success, if you know what I mean. And if you really want to help the channel and really help the cooking videos, help purchase some ingredients, consider becoming a Patreon or a channel member, or make a donation via PayPal. All monies received go to making videos. I make very, very little. From YouTube, I make pennies. And all the donations I get from everywhere else go to help fund the videos. Anyway, that just leaves me to say, thank you very much for watching. Trevor out.